pretty much every business you stop at, you see nowadays has a now hiring sign of it, in front on it, and that is cool. But what if employees weren't necessary? Well, they are not. In today's video, I will definitely be explaining how robots will be will be able to replace people in some of these industries, and how it might actually happen. So we all know that corporations have, and by the way, I have some channel updates at the end of this video, so please stick until the end. So corporations are really desperate to get workers right now. I mean, some are even offering huge rewards and whatnot. But what if there was no? But robots can actually replace people in many different scenarios. Now, here's my reasons. Number one, robots can actually survive dangerous jobs that humans can't always. For example, the mining industry. People die from mining every year because it's a very dangerous job. And not only that, but speaking of, they even in Africa, like to make our phones, they have to use rare earth elements. Okay, so they use child labor in Africa in order for us to get these elements for us to be able to run our phones and our YouTube channels and whatnot. So this way they wouldn't need child labor anymore if they had robots doing it. And also, speaking of child labor, the way chocolate is produced right now, it also involves child labor, so they could get robots for that too. So this would help remove child labor. Reason number two is that this just makes sense to corporations. I mean, big corporations like McDonald's and Walmart don't particularly seem to only care about money. If you ever watch Superstore, you'll know that they clearly make many jokes about corporations nowadays. Like, for example, you know how Obamacare is a law? Well, it's not the law of part-time employees, so they just have stores and such will just have part-time employees. Now, although this does make sense for places that are open 24 hours, it doesn't make sense for places that aren't open 24 hours. So yeah, so this would just make sense for corporations because, let's face it, robots don't require as much money as humans do, because humans need insurance, which robots do not need. Humans aren't going to call out of work sick. Or robots aren't going to call out of work sick. Or for any reason, really. So, and robots also don't need to stop working on holidays and weekends either. So you can think about how many benefits we're having already. And I know what you might be thinking. What if robots malfunction? Well, if robots are built correctly, then they shouldn't really malfunction for a few years at least. So robots do actually save corporations lots of money, so it just makes sense. Also, robots will do their jobs correctly. A good example is, one time a few years ago, my grandmother was just driving through Burger King to get a burger, right? And she got a burger from them, but it was cold. And then she said, oh no, and then she obviously reported the cold burger, and they said, oh, we'll get you a hot one. Well, the second one was also cold. So, robots will always be programmed to do the right thing. because robots cannot think for themselves unlike humans. Even AI can only be programmed to a certain extent. So robots aren't going to be lazy couch potatoes also. And another detail I might add about robots is that this technology is already evolving. So my grandma showed me a clip a few weeks ago of 60 Minutes of this robot company. And these robots were so advanced that they were even dancing. Yes. They could do all sorts of stuff. They were very much human-like. Now, granted, they are expensive, but like, remember when average computers cost $2,000 or $3,000? As long as you're not buying a Mac, or else as long as you don't need really high power, they're most of the time way cheaper than that nowadays. TVs have also gotten way cheaper in the past few years. So over time, it'll just make sense to hire robots instead of people. And now you might be thinking, well, how can robots actually do this in certain scenarios? Well, I'll name two scenarios. One where you're just shopping at a general store, and the second one when you're going to a sit-down restaurant. So when you're shopping at a general store, this is actually quite simple. You just go ahead and get your stuff, and then you go on up to the counter. And then obviously self-checkout can replace that. Because technology is already headed that way. I mean, at Speedway now, if you've ever been inside a Speedway before to where they actually have little touchscreens on them now if you want to order any food from them. So technology, and of course many stores offer self-checkout nowadays, but in a restaurant it's a little more complex. So here's how it works in a restaurant. Obviously, the most obvious solution to where you won't have to have a waiter sit you down anymore is to obviously just have the customers seat themselves. That's the most obvious solution. Now at these tables, they can have these little tablet-like devices where you can basically order your drinks and your food if you really want to. And then once you got, and then that would send a signal to the servers out in the kitchen to go ahead and get your drinks ready. To the robots out in the kitchen to go ahead and get your drinks ready. And then robots with wheels and the physical ability to carry stuff can carry the drinks to you. And then of course you can use those same tablets to order food. And they can bring you your food. And then obviously the bill can just be paid with credit card slots in those machines. In fact, at some restaurants they already have stuff like that. And then you can obviously just get your pay for your food and then you can go. So this is how robots would do jobs in general scenarios. Oh, and obviously robots with all sorts of abilities, athletic abilities and such, would be able to do the cleaning, of course. So technology is advancing for enough to robots for exist. Like Mr. Who's the Boss actually did a video on some cool inventions, and he mentioned a robot that's capable of doing everything. It's a really versatile robot. So that's about it for my robot slot. What are you guys' opinions? Please comment them down below. So now for the channel updates. So for this October is officially the 20-year anniversary of the iPod. So as I will celebrate by making every single video in October dedicated to iPods in some sort of way, except for one video, which will still be special, but it'll be something different. So almost all October long, it will be iPod it will just be videos about iPods. So if you guys have any ideas for stuff that you want me to cover about iPods and videos, please let me know down below. And if you're stoked to see the iPod series, just to give you a little trip down memory lane, go ahead and consider subscribing to my channel, since my goal is to hit 300 subscribers by this Thanksgiving. All my social media and such will be linked down below in the description. And I know this is a long video. Thank you for sticking this far if you have. And as always, peace out.